Hi everyone, my name is Joseph. Today I want to discuss Digimon Debug 1-2, or in other words, Chapter 1, Part 2. So I'm not going to lie, just like with the webcomic, the most previous one that I've currently had, there was a lot of action and battling that was going on. That's essentially what's going on with Debug 1-2 as well. I would say that the majority of it, probably more than half of it, is describing a battle between the corrupted NPC and Yuki. Specifically, the corrupted UPC is utilizing, I wrote down the name to not forget like last time, Jazz Kuramon. In addition to that, also utilizing Mero Kalojoromon. Probably not pronouncing that correctly, but everyone has read the section, they know who I'm referring to. So with that being said, even though there's a lot of fights, a lot of battling going on, I still do believe that this portion does a decent job at characterization. I obviously chapter one I think does a better job, and I think that makes a lot of sense because it is chapter one hyphen one. I couldn't pronounce that for a couple seconds. So it has to make sure, it being the story, has to make sure that it sets itself up in such a way where the audience, the readers, is intrigued not just by the world building, but also by the characters. It does have the benefit that some of the world building has been done already through the webcomic portion. We already know what Lacuna is. We already know what Liberator is. Again, if one needs a refresher, Liberator is a card game, a VR card, not VR, virtual reality. Well, yeah, I suppose you have virtual reality, a virtual reality card version of the traditional Digimon card game. So that's what Liberator is. And then Lacuna is where the digital world for this story is taking place. Chapter one as a whole, I think, does a good job setting up the characters. I'm not to say that it's quite similar to chapter one from the comic side as well, the webcomic. I feel like I said many of these same comments for the last video for 1.3. Forgive me, because they're both running at the same time. I'm forgetting some of the naming conventions. Or no, excuse me, it was chapter two already, not chapter one. I believe with the webcomic we're reading on chapter two. But even though that's one chapter ahead, and I'm saying similar comments, I also think that does make sense because the novel has the benefit of just using wording, while it's the webcomic, it does use pictures, so it needs to take up more space in order to tell the same story or the same subject matter of a kind of story. So hopefully that makes sense. So with that being said, I do have a couple of quotes. I don't have as many as last time, but again, I think that makes sense because this was a battle-focused chapter. But the first quote that I have, it's quite short, but I think it sets up Yuki, or rather it adds to Yuki's characterization. Yuki desperately wants to touch that mohawk of Loudmon, but through sheer willpower managed to restrain herself. So at this point, Ipmon has a new evolutionary line, and actually as a Digimon fan who came in from the anime and then started playing games and then now and consuming everything else from Digimon, I actually really much appreciate that because if one has never gone beyond the anime, they might become a little bit concerned about the whole idea of Digimon becoming, well, anything that they want to be. The closest that we have to this would be Gamamon from Ghost Game, and the way that Gamamon has multiple adult or champion forms, not just one specific one, so he has routes that he could go down. We're seeing that Ipmon, I'm sure for most of us, we're used to Ipmon and his traditional, well, actually, Ipmon never evolved into his champion form. In the anime, Ipmon went from his child slash rookie form into his perfect slash ultimate form, which is Beizo or Beizbomon. Again, pronunciation is not always my strongest forte. But in this instance, we have a new line. Excuse me, everyone. I should have written down that line. I know it begins with loud mon. Here we go, punk mon, loud mon, and then lastly ending with heavy Metaldramon. And it's heavy Metaldramon who takes the fight against Metacodralmon, or that corrupted NPC, and they end up winning. So as a quick refresher, these Digivolutions, these evolutions, is coming from from those mysterious. I pronounced those rudely right there, but it's coming from those mysterious cards that Yuki obtained from her previous battle. And as a quick refresher, within the world of the game of Liberator, one only receives cards when they've won a battle. So the fact that Yuki got, I believe it was not just one packet, but two packets. The first packet from losing, and the second packet from actually opening the first packet. That is mysterious circumstances, and thankfully, the story does make sure to highlight that at the end of 1-2. It points out that Yoki questions where these cards came from. And I'm happy about that because, to be honest with everyone, it's something just appeared in my deck or not just anything card related, but if anything appeared and like my wallet, my credit cards. I guess that's similar to a deck of cards. But one knows what I'm trying to refer to. Something just mysteriously appeared. I'm not sure if I'll just go ahead and start using it, especially because the way that the cards are described as being a bit diabolical. In fact, that's how excuse me, what was his name? Heavy Metalgemon. Heavy Metalgemon, that's how he was described as diabolical. But thankfully, it worked out positively for Yuki and Ipmon. And as the audience, as a reader, I am looking forward to where these cards came from. Are they coming from the system itself, from Lacuna or the digital world, or is it someone behind closed scenes who's controlling this information? And speaking about behind closed scenes, we also get a new character introduction as well, a completely new character. If one goes to the Digimon Liberator website under characters for the novel portion, there's only 4 that are listed. That's Yuki, Impmon, the B, and then Rinwar, I believe his name is, Winwr. The last 2, the B and Rinwar, have not yet been introduced. But within this chapter, we also get the mention of Altea, Altea, something like that. But essentially, Altea works with Epsimon. Everyone's been following Digimon since Ghost Game and Seekers. They're probably familiar with Epsimon, and that's the ones that seeming to be this version's, seeming to start that statement over. Altea and Epsimon seem to be Liberator's version of Yoline from Digimon Seekers. Yoline was the one who was in charge, a captain of the Digipolice. So that's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to getting to know that. She seems to be a female character, getting to know her. Ipmon doesn't seem to want to work with her, but I like how Yoki is emphasizing that they are a team, and thus they need to work together. A team not just between Yoki and Ipmon, but the whole debugging team in general. So continuing forward, the other quote that I have, pardon me, and also the reason why I do like this quote is because, so let me read it again. It's so short. Yuki desperately wanted to touch the mohawk, but through sheer willpower, managed to restrain herself. I think this really does show, although she may seem aloof and very floaty, she's still very much in control of herself most of the time, at least in serious context and serious situations. If one recalls from my first video for Debug, I did point out that at first I was kind of not jiving or connecting very well with Yoki because of her demeanor. She really much does remind me of Minmay, which I know for some, I'd be like, well, what do you mean? Minmay from Adventure 1? Then you must love her because Minmay was awesome. And I do love Minmay. I think she's a great character. Her character arc is awesome. How she goes from adventure to try. But in this instance, I feel like she's just she being Yuki was just a bit too much in her face. But thankfully, by the end of 1-1, I was able to start seeing the positive elements of her characterization, and same idea here as well. So I'm happy to see this. Excuse me, everyone. I keep rubbing my nose because unfortunately my cat, her fur is quote unquote irritating. My nose are making it itch. So I thank you for your patience. Hopefully it does not look too comical. So continuing forward, choosing to prepare for the opponent's attack with a slight departure from Yuki's usual high-speed, aggressive style. However, no matter what, she did not allow her opponent to reduce her number of Digimon. That was the insight Yuki gained from seeing Heavy Metalgemon's card. Reflecting on the previous defeat had shown her a simple truth. Previously, Yuki only knew how to attack aggressively, but this card and her prior loss made her rethink her tactics. Sometimes, enduring an opponent's onslaught reveals the path to victory. As I stated previously, how that first quote, I love how it reinforces the positive aspects of Yuki's characterization. This quote definitely does the same thing, but does a bit more because it's not just talking about, oh, I'm controlling myself to touch another person's individual's hair. In this instance, it's stating that Yuki has self-reflected and she has learned from her previous mistakes and now she's moving forward. And I think that's really awesome. In fact, there's another part in this, in 1-2, where it's stated that Yuki only has 2 hands in her deck, only has 2 cards in her hand. And typically that's a bad sign. That means that one is running out of options, running out of things to do, actions to do upon the playing field. And the battle NPC, the corrupted NPC, was probably thinking the same thing. But Yuki was actually in a position where that she wanted to be herself. And she forced herself to have as few cards in her hand because essentially with her new deck that she received from those 2 random mysterious packs, one benefits from having fewer cards. If anyone's ever seen Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of like the opposite of, I can't remember the Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster's name, but the Egyptian god, the red one, Slifer, I believe, where the more cards that one has in their hand, the more attack power Slifer has. It's the opposite of that essentially. The fewer cards that one has, that the tamer has in their hand, the more benefits that the card is able to, that the cards are that's currently in play are able to do because of a current tamer card or something like that. I don't play Digimon the card game, so please bear with me when it comes to some of the battle tactics. I was gonna say batics. Battle and tactics put together. But anyways, yeah, so pardon me when it comes to describing the battle tactics. So I do really appreciate this line because it really does show you're going to be a serious individual. And she has to be serious. I think that makes sense because she is working with the Debug team, right? She's different from EG in that EG was always unofficial. He was working officially with Professor Rujinji, but EG never had an official role within DDR, whatever the science staff that Professor Rujinji worked in. Not in the same way that Leon had, right? Leon had credentials. He had access to more of the lab than I'm sure that EG did, and it's because Leon was officially on the roster, officially on the quote-unquote team, the research team, while EG was unofficially on the team. He was more of a back-end agent. This is the opposite for Yuki. She's on the forefront. She's officially on the team, and I'm loving how at first when we first start reading it, it's like, wow, how is this person in the quote-unquote Digipolice and Liberator's version of the Digipolice? She seems again so aloof, kind of flighty. But these characterizations really emphasizes that it's just superficially how she seems. But one gets to know this character. There's more that meets the eye. Again, like with EG. And I love that. One might say that they being the writers, are trading the same path. But I don't agree with that just because of the fact that, for the simple matter, something with my words. For the simple matter that Yuki's female, not male, I think that plays a small factor. But also the important detail that, again, she's at the forefront, an official member of Liberator, rather than so essentially she's our Leon. So far is what I would say. At least that makes sense in my head. Hopefully it makes sense for you as well. But yeah, so continuing forward, the next quote that I have, she would have preferred Impmon to just congratulate her right away. However, she decided not to voice her thoughts. It was better not to say anything unnecessary and spoil the hard-earned victory with the quarrel. So this occurs after they've won the card battle, and this, like the previous two quotes, emphasizes Yuki's characterization in a positive way as well. This shows, so we've seen so far that she has self-control. She knows how to self-reflect and grow. And then in this instance, she also knows how to read the room. She wants more out of Impmon because obviously Yuki's much more affectionate. She's much more hands-on in expressing herself. I would argue that Yuki's probably the type of person who hugs people rather than just shakes hands or greets them with a wave, right? They'll actually hug those people because they're just very friendly like that, right? And I could totally see Yuki being in that way as well. But despite her having preferences, she also understands that not everyone thinks the same way that she does, and that she keeps in mind. It wouldn't surprise me if she does bring this up in the future. Hey, Impmon, how about we start celebrating after a battle much more sooner rather than waiting a bit? But it's not something she's going to broach for right now. She's going to let the good energy from the battle just want to take the forefront of the situation. And I like that a lot because essentially she recognizes that she tries to have this discussion with Impmon. This positive outlook that they're currently in will sour, and she doesn't want that. So it shows that she thinks about herself in addition to the people that she works with. The next quote, Punkmon, Loudmon, and Heavy Middledramon. When she first saw the card illustration, she was initially disconcerted by the departure from Biyuzumon's appearance. But being a dancer herself, the new music theme, Digivolutions, had all the right notes for Yuki. So I think it's awesome that we get that it gets revealed that Yuki is not just an individual who is smart enough and clever enough to work with the official Debug team, but essentially in her personal time, she also is a dancer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might be the first time that Digimon has a main character who's a dancer. Trying to think off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I think that's an important aspect to keep in mind because this explains why Yuki, at first, she might seem superficial, but it also explains why she's able to go deeper. She's able to go into the depths and have unique tactics, unique strategies, self-reflect. uh, be self-conscious and able to read the room. Because I would argue, in order to be a successful dancer, one has to adapt, as Yuki points out right here. And the only way that one can adapt is if they're aware of their current surroundings, they're aware of their current context, and they're making the correct decisions to move forward from there. And so far, I think the story has done a good job of demonstrating that that's exactly what Yuki has done in her debugging career and her battling career. And we know that she's been having this mindset cultivated due to her past history working as a, well, not working, but participating as a dancer. A small detail to be sure, but I think this detail adds a lot to Yuki's characterization and helps to emphasize a lot of the details that have been brought to the forefront. Continuing forward, this is my last quote, or second to last. Okay, no, it is the last quote, excuse me. Oh, shut up. Let me start that over. Oh, shut up, shut up. Let me go already. The mission's over, so why don't you log off already? No, I want to stay like this a bit longer. Yuki forcibly held onto her restless partner and began to walk briskly along the rugged paths of Ruby Mountain. Seriously, this partner of hers needs to be more honest. And that's how chapter 1-2 ends. And not to say, I did enjoy how it began. No, rather, I was caught off guard with the way it began, but I started enjoying the way that 1-1 ended, and then with 1-2. I did go in a bit questionable. I was worried about Yuki's characterization, but I went in concerned. Those concerns were shot down. A lot of the characterization helped me to really start appreciating and liking Yuki as a character even more. And by the end of it, I really am looking forward to chapter 2. As a quick reminder, I know chapter 2 and 2-1 and 2-2 or -1-2 is already out. But since the novel is going to take 3 weeks to update, I want to make sure I always have a Digimon specific content for Sundays, but also don't want you guys to start creating like my favorite top 5 Digimon or like my favorite top 5 episodes. Essentially, this episodes I want to have conversations and discussions about current Digimon media, and it just so happens that right now it's Liberator. So Liberator in the webcomic and novel sense. And not that there's anything wrong with doing top 5 lists, by the way. It's not my forte. I like just to have a conversation about something that I've consumed and enjoyed. I've never really been one to like just create lists and stuff like that. But if one asks me like what my favorite games are, I could name like the top 3 like Mass Effect, The Witcher, Half-Life. Oh, but then there's Halo and Left 4 Dead, The Legend of Heroes. Okay, so see what I mean? It's just for me personally. It's just kind of hard to limit myself to 3, 5, sometimes even 10. Sorry, everyone, excuse me. Let me drink some water. Hopefully that looked okay. And and I thank you for your patience as well. Anyways, but thank you so much for joining along with me. Next week, not next week, but next week, oh, excuse me, in 2 weeks, we'll continue with the web novel. Next weekend should be the continuation of the web comic with the Ryza, Shoto, Terramon, and Shumon. My question for everyone is, so far, everyone has read chapter 1 of both the webcomic and the web novel. Which one is grabbing your attention more? Which one are you enjoying a bit more currently? Not that whatever your answer is, that means that will be your final answer. It's just that currently, right now, which gives one more enjoyment. Specifically for chapter 1, well, I guess chapter 2 as well, since the first 2 chapters are out, since the web novel, the web comic only has the first 2 chapters as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Again, as always, I do thank you all for your patience. Have a great day. Have a prodigious day, and take care.